I've told this story, so two of you have heard it, but I had a good example of two funerals where they just wanted cremation and didn't want a funeral. This one was a fellow who had no family, he had one friend, and so what's the point of having a funeral? The lawyer said he's also got no money, he was a drunkard and a gambler, and even the RSA won't let him in the doors anymore, and his one friend had stood by him, and I knew who he was, and the lawyer said just cremate him, he's got no money, but cheap as possible. But I knew that friend needed something. So I said to the friend, we're going to the crematorium tomorrow at 10. There's no money for a funeral. And he said, I don't want anyway, I don't care, I'm not coming. I said, no, that's fine, but I will be outside the funeral home leaving at 10 o'clock. So if you're able to be there, I really like it, because I know you're able to say goodbye. He goes, oh yes, whatever. Was he going to turn up? I'm not sure. 10 to 10, he turns up wearing his full military gear. He's saying I don't need that stuff, and yet he got himself dressed up visually to go and do something because he needed to kinesthetically do something. And when he got there, I met him outside, shook his hand, he goes, oh, well, you can go now. And I said, I'd left the back of the hearse open, and I had a cardboard casket in there, but with a flag over it. And next to the open door, I had a poppy sitting there. And I said, look, I'm just going to pop inside for a minute because I need to do something. Can I leave you outside for a few minutes? And he goes, yep. So we stood there. As I walked inside, I turned the outside speakers on and I played the last post. He did the whole routine of standing to attention, standing at ease, placing the poppy, saluting, and as I walked out, there was a tear running down his face. And he shook my hand in a way that was the best hug I'd ever had. And for him, I'd created a farewell. But if I'd just listened to what the lawyer said, and actually listened to what he said, I would have done nothing. So sometimes you've got to be a bit creative. The other one I like to tell is not long after our crematorium opened. This is a view from our deck, our crematorium, that's Kapiti Island. Looks down over the ocean, it's a beautiful spot up in the cemetery. And this lady died who, again, had some family in the UK but no one in New Zealand. She also had two friends and she spent a lot of time with those friends. And so I was instructed to go and arrange the funeral with them. And they said, oh, we don't need anything, just have her cremated. And I said, we need to do something for you. You tell me what she would have liked and what you would like. And we got talking, and after a while they said one of the things she really loved was having a really nice glass of wine and eating really nice food, canapes and things like that. She was a bit posh. And in fact, they also loved, when there was a good sunset, they'd sneak down, take a bottle of wine and sit up on the sandhill and watch the sunset. So I said, why don't we watch the sunset at the crematorium? And they said, oh, we can't do that. And I said, why not? It's our crematorium. We can do what we like. I mean, unlike some of the city crematoriums that are restricted on hours and so forth, it's ours. We can do whatever we like. So we booked the cremation for a couple of days' time. I organised some nice wine and some nice food. There was only the two of them and me, so there's only three of us up there, and the deceased, four. And that afternoon, it was raining and grey and horrible. So we rang each other and I said, let's put it off for a day. We don't have to do it today. This is just the three of us. So we put it off, I can't remember if it was a day or two, till there was a beautiful sunset. This was the sunset. As we stood outside and we raised our glasses to her, they had some lovely food. They yapped for about 3/4 of an hour. I thought I was then going to go home, but then they came inside because it got a bit cold and sat down, pulled up some chairs and talked for another hour and a half. But that's what they needed to do. So sometimes being creative, being visual and kinesthetic and auditory. So for them, the visual was seeing the sunset. The kinesthetic was actually going up and being there with food and her. She was present. And of course the auditory was the speaking. So they managed to... Sorry?
Where was
Oh, we actually took her outside.
Oh, right.
Yeah, we actually put her outside with us. So we're standing around her. Yeah, which was quite neat. I had a feeling the other day that they wanted a cremation first and then they were just going to have a cup of tea in our lounge. And I said, you can, but why not have her there with you? Oh, we don't want a funeral. I said, no, just have your cup of tea, but have her in the lounge. And the way our lounge is slightly separate than our foyer, so she was in the foyer, because sometimes Māori tanga says no food. But it worked because it was like being just out there So people could eat and then go out and talk to her, and there was always someone talking to her and circulating around. So yeah, that's quite a special one. So the A to Z process. Now before I do that, I talked about the fact that we have to do, see and hear. So an example I gave before and I use again is if someone is going to visit someone to see a deceased person, if they're quite visual, and these are, imagine three people, a very visually strong person, a very auditory strong person, and a very kinesthetically strong person. They've all decided to go and see the deceased. The first one's visual. When they come in, what are they going to do?
See if their hair's tidy, their clothes are put on right.
Yes, exactly. Yep, is their makeup right? Is their hair,
the right colouring on their faces.
Yep, and they'll even comment about the paintings you've got on the walls, the colour of your furniture. You know, the casket, yes, the casket's purple, just she loved purple, that's perfect. Or that casket's dark mahogany, it's not really her
I don't like that lace for that.
Yeah, that's it, you've got it, exactly. So, our auditory person, when they come in, what are they going to do?
There's the music.
Yep, you've got opera music on, and she hated opera, she loved jazz. Yeah, and they'll start talking to you, and if you leave, they'll talk to the deceased, because they need to hear what's going on. Even if they're not a great talker, they'll still speak because they need to hear it. Interesting, eh? What about the kinesthetic person? What will they do?
Touch the wood.
Touch the wood?
Or,
Touch the casket? Yeah, touch the deceased? Yep. They were, my uncle died, Dad's brother. He died at home quite suddenly. He was due to go on the hospice on the Monday and had a big party on the Saturday and died early as a Sunday morning. It wasn't from the party. But Dad stayed with him and he rang me. I was staying at a friend's in Auckland around the North Shore, and he said, "Can you come round? I think Alan's dead." And I said, "Well, is he or isn't he?" I said, "Well, I think he might have just died, but I'm not sure." I said, "I'll be there soon." I left it for half an hour. I went really slow and had a cup of tea. That's what she did. First thing I did, because I'm quite kinesthetic or tactile, is I walked straight up to him and I picked his hand up. And then I went, "Oh, sorry, Alan," because he's not. He was not kinesthetic. So to do that to him, he'd be alright shaking your hand, but you're not holding his hand like that. It was like girly. But for me, it was natural just to go and pick his hand up. Because I'm quite tactile. So in a crisis, we are all these three things. We function on all those three levels. But in a crisis, like with Uncle Alan, sorry Connie, you're not Uncle Alan. With Uncle Alan, I went into that mode of tactile because that's what I do in a crisis. What are you in a crisis? You visual, auditory? So if you go into a funeral and someone says, "What a wonderful casket that was," or "What beautiful flowers," will you go, "Don't remember what colour the flowers were," or will you go, "Oh yeah, they were blue, green and orange," you know? Or will you be the person who remembers the stories that were told? Or will you go, "Oh, that beautiful lavender they had at the end that I was able to put on the casket as I said goodbye." You did something. And someone will go, "Were there flowers at the end?" Because they're not tactile. Do you get where I'm coming from? So who thinks they're visual, quite strongly visual? Anybody? One, two?
I'm all three.
Yeah, like I said, we are all three, but in a crisis, what one comes forward? What one lifts the most? More visual? Okay, so who's the visual ones? Think. Okay, can you put your hand over your mouth just so you don't speak when I ask this question? And then put your hand up if you know the answer. What two colours were my tie?
Yellow and brown.
Yes, blue and gold. Would you have said the same?
I've seen
You've
you.
seen it? I should have changed my time or something. So interesting, you are very visual, whether you like it or not. Because sometimes we are these things and we don't know it. And I told that story again last time about the Scots lady that I loved, that she'd been brought up that she did not touch. And she was a spinster lady and she never touched, that's what she was taught. And then at her brother's funeral, everyone kept hugging her, and she said to me afterwards, "Did I record it?" Which I did, because she said I didn't hear anything. All I was sitting there going was, why would people keep hugging me? And at the end she realised she really liked it. And since then, she's become a huge hugger. She'll see me across the supermarket, run over and give me this big hug. You know? But she wasn't. She thought she wasn't a touch person because she'd been taught that way. So, who is auditory? Who thinks auditory is a strong point? Anybody? Mostly people are auditory that say the answer without putting their hand up. That's why I put you to do that. So how many children do they have?
Five.
Who said 5? Yeah, so auditory is quite strong, didn't you? Yes, it was 5. Okay, and last
So
auditory.
one wasn't in the photo.
Yeah, one wasn't in the photo, that's right, I filtered it out,
So
didn't I?
there's 4.
Okay, last auditory question. How old was my granddad when he died walking on the beach?
94.
Yeah, 94. So someone who's really strongly auditory will get the fact exactly right, not, and slightly. We've covered them all: auditory, kinesthetic, visual, yeah. Yeah, there's a little example for you. It's quite useful, isn't it? And the reason that example is so useful is because we as people, when we're grieving and when we look at funerals, we often look at it from our own perspective. So, for instance, I had a funeral just recently where the daughter was arranging the funeral. Everything was about how the music was. It was all about sound. Who was speaking? They weren't speaking too long. That she vetted what they were going to say. It was all about sound. When the brother turned up, he stood at the back of the church. It was a church, not our chapel. And he goes, "Oh my gosh, visual pollution." And I clicked straight away what he was talking about. There were cords lying everywhere. The drum kit was all messy. It wasn't tidy. But the daughter didn't see that. All she heard was the music and was worried about what was going to be said. So to try and include all those 3 things is really important. And that's why when people say, "I don't need a funeral," but what's important for those who need to grieve? How do they need to grieve? What do they need to hear? What do they need to see? And what do they need to do to help them grieve? So we'll think through that.